Hi everyone, my name is Katie Hallis and I'm a nutritionist with the Nutrition Education, Training, and Technical Assistance Division at USDA's Food and Nutrition Service and Child Nutrition Programs. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar on using the Women, Infants, and Children, also known as WIC, food lists, to identify creditable foods in the CACFP. There is actually not a worksheet to use during today's webinar, but a worksheet will be out very soon on this topic. This webinar is part of Team Nutrition's CACFP Halftime 30 on Thursdays bi-monthly webinar series. And this webinar is being recorded today and will be made available at a later date on the Team Nutrition website. If you lose audio over your computer at any time during today's webinar, you can also listen in by telephone by dialing 866-740-1260. When prompted, you can enter the access code 605-4013. This number will be shown at the bottom of the slide throughout this presentation. We will also have time at the end of this webinar to take questions, but you can use the chat box at any time during the webinar to enter your questions, and we will try to answer as many as we can at the end. You will also receive a certificate for attending this webinar for the entire 30 minutes today. Certificates will be emailed to you by the end of the day on Thursday, May 23rd, but you may need to check your spam folder for your certificates. So before we dive into learning about the WIC food list, let's talk about grains in the Child and Adult Care Food Program. Grains are required at breakfast, lunch, and supper, and are optional as snacks for children and adults. A whole grain rich item must be offered at least once per day for children and adults, but there is not a whole grain rich requirement for infants. In the CACFP, whole grain rich foods contain at least 50% whole grains, and the remaining grains in the food are enriched, fortified, or made with bran or germ. Foods that are 100% whole grain are also whole grain rich. Again, whole grain rich foods are required only one time per day. The rest of those grains you offer throughout the day can be whole grain rich, enriched, fortified, or made with bran or germ. So there are many different ways to tell if a food is whole grain rich in the CACFP. You can use any one of the methods that are written here. The food does not have to meet all the methods to be considered whole grain rich. Some states may have stricter or other standards for identifying if a food is whole grain rich, so please check with your state agency or sponsoring organization if you have any questions about which methods you can or should be using. Some methods you can use to tell if a food is whole grain rich in the CACFP include if the food is found on any state agency's WIC-approved whole grains list or marked as a whole grain food on the WIC list. This does not have to be your state. It can be listed on any state's WIC-approved foods list. We will talk about this method in a lot more detail today on this webinar. You can also use any one of the other methods, including if a certain food, including bread, rolls, buns, macaroni, spaghetti, or vermicelli, are labeled whole wheat, entire wheat, or gram, such as whole wheat rolls, entire wheat bread, or gram buns. Or if a food has something called an FDA-approved whole grain health claim, or if it's considered whole grain rich in the school meals program, such as the National School Lunch Program or School Breakfast Program, or if you have proper documentation from a manufacturer, or a standardized recipe that shows that whole grains are the main grain ingredient by weight, or finally, if the ingredients in the food meet the criteria listed in the Rule of 3. Again, for today's webinar, we will just be focusing on the method to identify whole grain rich foods using any state agency's WIC-approved whole grain food list. The Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, known as WIC, provides federal grants to states for supplemental foods, healthcare referrals, and nutrition education for low-income pregnant, breastfeeding, and non-breastfeeding postpartum women, and to infants and children up to age 5 who are at nutritional risk. WIC authorizes food lists that meet minimum federal WIC requirements and can be purchased with WIC benefits. This list is called the WIC Authorized Foods List, or WIC list. It includes specific brands and product names of foods. Each state has its own WIC list, and in some states, it may be called the Approved WIC Food Shopping Guide or a similar name. You can use any state agency's WIC list to choose grain items that can be counted towards a reimbursable meal or snack in the CACFP, such as whole grain rich breads, pastas, rice, and tortillas. The WIC list can also be used to find breakfast cereals and infant cereals that meet the CACFP sugar limit. Some states may require that you only use your state's list, so if you are not sure, please check with your state or sponsoring organization to see which state's WIC list to use before purchasing those grain items. Now let's do a quick practice question. I will show you all an interactive poll in just a minute where you can actually click on the screen to answer yes or no to this question. But first, let's go ahead and look at this question together. So Bob works in State A and finds State B's WIC list. Can he use State B's WIC list to identify whole grain rich items he can offer at his child care site in State A? Yes or no? So I'll give you all a minute to think about this, and then I'll show you all the poll on the next slide. Okay, so now you can go ahead and enter your answer by clicking on the circle next to yes if you think Bob can use State B's WIC list to find whole grain rich items he can serve in State A. Click no if you think Bob cannot use State B's WIC list. All right, we're getting a lot of responses for yes. Great job, everyone. So yes, Bob can use State B's WIC list even though he works in State A. In the CACFP, you can use any state agency's WIC list to choose grain items to serve in the CACFP. However, before Bob purchases grain items from State B's WIC list, he checks with his state agency first. Remember, some states may require that you only use your state's list, so be sure to check with your state or sponsoring organization first. So a WIC list may include several different sections or categories. The sections or categories you want to pay attention to when choosing foods for the CACFP are whole grains, breakfast cereals, and infant cereals. WIC lists include some, but not all, of the cereals and whole grain rich items that can be served in the CACFP. Now let's go into each one of these sections listed on the slide, and we're going to start with whole grains. So all whole grains on WIC lists are considered whole grain rich in the CACFP. Whole grain foods may appear on WIC lists as a single section called whole grains, and it can include items like whole wheat bread and 100% whole wheat rolls. In several places under different categories, such as tortillas, pasta, and oats, or you might also see it marked by symbols, colors, or some other identifier. However, some states may use a star or other symbol to mark cereal packages that are not whole grain rich. So check what different symbols might mean before using that WIC list. Now we're going to move over to talking about breakfast cereals in the CACFP. As you know, there is a sugar limit for breakfast cereals of no more than 6 grams of sugar per ounce of cereal in the CACFP. Luckily, WIC has the same sugar limit, so any cereal listed on a WIC list also meets the CACFP sugar limit. So that's the good news, but not all cereals on the WIC list are whole grain rich. If you would like to count a breakfast cereal as a whole grain rich item, then there are 2 things you need to consider. First is the sugar limit, and then also determining if the breakfast cereal is marked as a whole grain rich item on the WIC list. Again, all cereals on WIC lists meet the CACFP sugar limit of no more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce. So any breakfast cereal on a WIC list can be offered. However, if you want to serve the breakfast cereal as a whole grain rich item, then make sure it is marked as a whole grain rich item on the WIC list. If it is not marked as a whole grain rich item on the WIC list, but the breakfast cereal is enriched or fortified, it can still be served as a grain item, just not a whole grain rich item. Remember, WIC list includes some, but not all of the cereals and whole grain rich items that are creditable in the CACFP. The last category we will discuss on the WIC list is infant cereals. All infant cereals listed on WIC list meet the CACFP requirements for iron-fortified infant cereal. These infant cereals can be served as part of a reimbursable meal or snack when infants are developmentally ready. So if you are familiar with the WIC list already, you know that they may include other foods such as juice and milk, eggs, tofu, fruits, vegetables, and yogurt. Some of these foods may be creditable in the CACFP, but you may need more information than what is written on the WIC list to decide. You can disregard these sections when using the WIC list to purchase foods for the CACFP. Also, WIC and CACFP have different sugar limits for yogurt. As you know, there is a sugar limit of no more than 23 grams of sugar per 6 ounces in the CACFP for yogurt. The sugar limit in WIC is different. Therefore, the WIC list cannot be used to find yogurts that meet the CACFP sugar limit. To determine if a yogurt meets the sugar limit of 23 grams of sugar per 6 ounces, you can check out our USDA Team Nutrition worksheet titled Choose Yogurts That Are Lower in Added Sugars, and the recorded webinar on this topic. These can be found on our Team Nutrition website. Okay, let's do another practice question. I will show you all an interactive poll in a minute where you can click on the screen to answer yes or no to this question. Let's go over it together. Stacy wants to find yogurts that meet the sugar limit in the CACFP. Should she use the yogurts listed on her state's WIC list? Yes or no? All right, so here's the poll. Go ahead and enter your answer by clicking on the circle next to yes. If you think Stacy can use her state's WIC list to find a yogurt that meets the sugar limit in the CACFP, or no if she cannot use the WIC list. Okay, we have a lot of no's and we have a few yeses. So thank you everyone for participating in that poll. The majority of you are correct. The answer is no. So Stacy should not use the WIC list to find which yogurts that meet the sugar limit in the CACFP. WIC and the CACFP have different sugar limits for yogurt. The WIC list cannot be used to find yogurts that meet the CACFP sugar limit. Okay, now that we've talked about the WIC list, let's actually put this into action. First, we're going to find any state's WIC list that you want to use, and websites for each state can be found at the website link on the slide. As mentioned earlier in this webinar, check with your state agency or sponsoring organization first before using another state's WIC list. Second, use the WIC list to find only whole grain foods, breakfast cereals, and infant cereals that can be served in the CACFP. Next, check the WIC list to see if any brands are specified for the item you want to buy. If so, be sure to choose only the brands listed. After that, check the WIC list to see if there are specific product names or types listed under the brand. If so, be sure to choose only the product names or types listed. Lastly, make sure the brands and product names you buy match what is on the WIC list. Okay, so let's take a closer look at an actual example from a WIC list. You can see here that the brand names are bolded. In this example, Chi-Chi's is a brand of whole grain tortillas. When you look at the right of Chi-Chi's, you find the product name, which is white corn tortillas. Therefore, when you are purchasing whole grain tortillas, make sure the package reads the brand and product name listed on the WIC list. So in this example, if you choose to purchase Chi-Chi's brand white corn tortillas, make sure it says that on the package. Now we're going to find breakfast cereals for the CACFP using the WIC list. Remember, all cereals on any state's WIC list meet the sugar limit for cereals. but not all cereals listed on WIC lists are whole grain. So if you want to serve a cereal as your whole grain rich item, make sure you choose a cereal that is marked as whole grain on the WIC list. Many WIC lists include information about package sizes, such as 12 to 36 ounce package sizes, but you can disregard this information. It does not apply to the CACFP. Okay, so here's another example, and let's look at the breakfast cereal section of this WIC list. So on the left, the breakfast cereals listed are marked as whole grain cereals. If you choose to use this WIC list, the cereals listed under this section can count as your whole grain rich item. However, on the right, you see additional breakfast cereals, but these are marked as other cereals, not whole grain cereals. If you choose to use this WIC list, you can serve these breakfast cereals to fulfill the grains component at a meal or snack, but you cannot claim it as a whole grain rich item for that day. Okay, let's practice. I will show you all an interactive poll again in just a minute where you can click your answer, but let's go over the question. The question is, Elena wants to serve a whole grain rich breakfast cereal. Should she pick any cereal from her state's WIC list as the whole grain rich item? Okay, go ahead and enter your answer. So go ahead and click yes if you think Elena can pick any cereal from her state's WIC list to claim as a whole grain rich breakfast cereal, or no if you do not think Elena can pick any cereal to claim as whole grain rich. All right, a lot of responses are coming in. Great, okay. Great job, everyone. So the majority of you chose no, which is correct. Elena should not pick any cereal from her state's WIC list. All breakfast cereals on a state's WIC list meet the sugar limit in the CACFP, but not all are listed as whole grain. Elena should select a breakfast cereal that is specifically marked or listed as whole grain on the WIC list. Whole grain cereals listed on WIC lists are considered whole grain rich in the CACFP. So many WIC lists include information about package sizes, like we just talked about, such as brands in 12 to 36 ounce box or bag of cereal. Again, you can disregard this information. It does not apply to the CACFP. Okay, one last practice question before we wrap up. Again, I will show you all an interactive poll in just a minute where you can answer the question. But the question is, Justin sees buy 16 ounces next to brand C infant cereal on his state's WIC list. His store offers brand C infant cereal, but only in 24-ounce boxes. Can he buy the 24-ounce box and serve the cereal as part of a reimbursable infant meal? Yes or no? Okay, now you can go ahead and click your answer if you think Justin, so click yes if you think Justin can buy the 24-ounce box instead of the 16-ounce and still serve the cereal as part of a reimbursable infant meal. Or click no if you do not think Justin can buy the 24-ounce box and serve the cereal as part of a reimbursable infant meal. All right, we have a lot of responses coming in. Thank you all for participating. All right. So nice work, everyone. The answer is yes. Justin can buy the 24-ounce box of brand C infant cereal and serve the cereal as part of a reimbursable meal to infants. When using the WIC list to choose foods to serve in the CACFP, you do not need to pay attention to the size of the package. All right, so that concludes the informational portion of our webinar for today. We will take questions in a few minutes, so please go ahead and start typing them now into your chat box on your screen. And while you guys are getting your questions entered, I'm just going to go over some post-webinar housekeeping information. Those of you attending the webinar for the entire 30 minutes today will receive a certificate through your email by the end of the day on Thursday, May 23rd. Please wait until after May 23rd and check your spam or junk mailboxes before inquiring about your certificate. If you are viewing the webinar with multiple people, you can actually go ahead and print out a certificate for each person. More practice questions like the ones we did today are available at the National CACFP Sponsors Association website, and the website is www.cacfp.org/30onthursdays. For those of you who want to submit or track continuing education credits with NCA, you can actually do that at that link as well. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available on the Team Nutrition website soon. If you are watching this as a recorded webinar and want to receive a certificate, you can go to the National CACFP Sponsors Association website to complete the post-webinar practice questions and then receive a certificate. The certificates may be sent a few days after completing the questions. Finally, please join us for our next CACFP Halftime 30 on Thursdays webinar on July 18th, and we will be talking about serving vegetables in the CACFP. So please feel free to visit our website, subscribe to our bi-monthly e-newsletter, connect with us via email at teamnutrition@usda.gov, and follow us on Twitter. If you are a sponsoring organization or independent center, you can sign up directly to become a Team Nutrition CACFP organization now. If you are a CACFP center or family child care provider, we encourage you to make sure your sponsoring organization is enrolled in the Team Nutrition CACFP Organizations Network. Enrollment is free, and Team Nutrition CACFP organizations have the opportunity to network peers, share ideas, and receive exclusive promotions, such as Team Nutrition's new Discover New Foods decals. Those are actually shown on the slide here. I think they're beautiful. And now we will go ahead and take some questions. And in the room with me are colleagues here in child nutrition who will be helping me with asking the questions and also answering some of the questions.
Great, great. Wonderful job, Katie. And thank you to all our participants. You guys asked a lot of good questions. So let's try to get through as many as we can. So the first question is, well, what if my cereal is not on a WIC list? How do I know if it meets the CACFP sugar limit?
Good question. And we have a worksheet for that. That's one of our main answers here. So Team Nutrition has actually 2 worksheets on how to tell if a breakfast cereal meets the sugar limit of no more than 6 grams of sugar per ounce of cereal. And we can actually go ahead and send that link out to those 2 worksheets through our post-webinar email. We do also have a CACFP halftime webinar, recorded webinar on this topic. So we can go ahead and include that in the post-webinar email too.
That sounds great. Thanks. Okay. Another person asked, I can't find my usual brand of whole wheat bread on my state's WIC list. Does that mean I can't serve it as a whole grain rich item then?
Yeah, so okay, good question. So remember that the WIC list is just one way of finding out if a food is whole grain rich. So if you really want to serve a whole grain food and it's not on a state's WIC list, you can use any of the other methods that we talked about at the beginning of the webinar. So that long list I was talking about, those 6 methods, to see if it's whole grain rich. Those methods, of course, include using the rule of 3 or seeing if the Food and Drug Administration whole grain health claim is on there, the FDA health claim. Team Nutrition also has some training resources on identifying whole grain rich foods that we can go ahead and send that in the post-webinar email too. So you'll be getting a link to that. We definitely encourage you to also contact and work with your state agency or sponsoring organization on that too.
Great, great. Thanks, Katie. Okay, so now we have a question about infants. So someone said, I know you said you can use the WIC list to find infant cereals that can be served in the CACFP, but can we use the WIC list to find other foods for infants in the CACFP as well?
Okay. Yeah, so for older infants, so those that are developmentally ready for solid foods, the only grain food that can count as part of a reimbursable meal at breakfast, lunch, and supper is iron-fortified infant cereal. So you can go ahead and use the WIC list to find those if you'd like. However, remember you can count bread and bread-like items like tortillas and also ready-to-eat cereals as part of a reimbursable snack. Of course, when that infant is developmentally ready for those solid foods. So you can serve the breads, tortillas, and ready-to-eat cereals listed on any state's WIC list as part of that infant snack. And of course, again, you can serve those iron-fortified infant cereals on any state's WIC list as part of the snack as well. Just remember, though, that whole grain rich foods are definitely encouraged, but that requirement of serving one whole grain rich item per day is not required in the infant meal pattern. We do also have 3 CACFP halftime webinar recordings on the infant meal pattern, and also we just released the Feeding Infants in the CACFP guide a few weeks ago, so we can go ahead and send those links out too in the post-webinar email.
Sounds great. You guys, this is going to be a really great post-webinar.
So many links.
Full of resources, so it'll be worth the wait. And then we got another question this time about yogurt. So, like you said, if we can't use the WIC list to find yogurts for CACFP, then what can we use to see if a yogurt meets the CACFP sugar limit?
Yeah, so I'm glad you're listening. So WIC and CACFP have different sugar limits, and my response is we have worksheets for that on determining how a yogurt might meet the CACFP sugar limit. And so as you all know, the yogurt sugar limit in the CACFP is limited to no more than 23 grams of sugar per 6 ounces of yogurt. And we can send out a link to those worksheets in the post-webinar email as well. And we do have a recorded webinar on that topic that we'll send out the link to as well.
All right. All right, we just got a couple other ones we can try to answer. So someone asked, so we talked about the package size. We did an example of the cereal. And someone had a similar question about tortillas. So can we disregard the package size when it comes to tortillas? As long as we purchase the brands and specific types of the tortilla listed on the WIC list, can we ignore the package size?
So yes, you can, in that example too, you can ignore the package size. Good question.
Let's see, what else? So I think this is something else we'll probably include in our post-webinar email. You guys this will be amazing. But someone's just asking, where can we find links to the WIC list, or is it listed on the CACFP site? And so I think right now it's not listed on the Team Nutrition website, but it is listed on the Food and Nutrition Service website. So I can't talk and type at the same time, but we'll definitely be sure to send that out in our post-webinar email as well. And let's see. I mean, Katie was having so much fun answering questions. I decided I wanted to turn as well. So I'm glad to see some people were really excited about these decals. I love them too. And someone asked if it was possible to get these new decals as posters. So that is a great idea. We'll definitely keep that in mind. We want to see how these decals do and get the word out about them. But we're excited you're excited. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, so definitely sign up. Sorry, I'm going to jump in. So definitely sign up. If you're a sponsoring organization or an independent center, sign up for the Team Nutrition CACFP Organizations Network, and then you have the opportunity to get those decals, which are actually removable stickers. So you can place them somewhere, and if you don't like it, you can peel them off and stick them in a different place. But they're great little, they're 6x6 removable, size 6x6 removable stickers.
So they're square, probably bigger than your normal postcards. They're delightful. So everyone, please sign up or remind your sponsor to sign up. And then the last question is, when will we get the certificate for completion? So for watching this webinar.
Good, great question. Okay, we're going to end there. So we actually have the certificates will be emailed to you before or on Thursday, May 23rd. So stay tuned for that and check your junk or spam mailbox. All right. So thank you all for your great questions. We are out of time. If you have additional questions or need more clarification on any topics we discussed today, please contact your state agency or sponsoring organization. Please know that we do read all of your chat box questions and comments, even if we weren't able to answer them today, as well as the comments that you put in the post-webinar survey in order to improve these webinars and meet your needs. We've also added a few questions to our post-webinar survey asking if you work for a child care center, family, child care home, state agency, or other, and also how long you've been working with the CACFP. So don't forget to answer those questions. Your responses help let us know who is in our audience and really helps us continue to develop and tailor these webinars as needed. All right, so thanks again, guys, and we look forward to seeing you all on our next webinar on Thursday, July 18th.
Great. Thank you, everyone.